you. They usually at least give you a credit or something.
We have another guy break his hand, so
Oh.
Aaron's trying to recoup right now.
Take care, man. We wanted to add
Discussion on district assets.
a discussion on district assets. Okay, adoption of the agenda. I move we
approve.
Okay, I second it. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Great. Let's go right into superintendent evaluation. And basically, we need to just make sure everyone's on board with what they're supposed to do. Right? You have the sheet.
This is actually the board goals,
Oh.
but I was the one who did provide that. Who's running the screen right now? Okay. How do I get this document to him? It's the one on the drive, the superintendent evaluation process document. Should I just email him a link?
Yeah, probably the best thing. Yeah, maybe just email on, or you log in there, Tom?
Yeah.
So
Okay.
maybe just email on the link.
Okay, somebody got something on drive, some.
Todd, what's your email?
Dot Pilch. UDD.PILCH. Right there.
Sorry.
You look at my email.
Okay, paste and sent. Okay. This is just for us to see and review. Mainly the way this came through. So mainly what I wanted to do today was just, for us to quickly review the process that we described. November, September, October, November, I forget when it was exactly. But as Asa said, we really need, what our goal today is to assign who will be conducting the interviews with each of the schools and the district office staff, and committing to completing the evaluation by the end of, I think what we said, by March is when we look to have it done by.
And they adopted in April.
Yes, where we meet at the end of March to compile, and then adopted in April. So if anyone has any particular school or group that they want to engage, now is the time.
I have a request. I've done the district office staff the last couple of years.
Mhm.
I would like to do something else.
Not
that it wasn't enjoyable. I just want to get into the building. So,
Sure.
if we can eliminate that one for me, that would be fine.
Is there one you haven't done?
Oh, gosh, you're asking me to remember, and I think I've
Done it all.
22 years I've done all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a?
If I got to choose, I would choose elementary.
Okay. Do you have it?
I would do Miller.
I would do middle or the administrative offices. That's what I would choose. How about you, Eric?
I'm actually perfectly content to participate in any of them. So that just as a reminder, the commitment for what this involves is that you do need to find time to meet with the principal and the union rep in each school. Last year, it was about an hour for each of them. So like in terms of time commitment and engagement on their schedules, like that would be most what you need to do. So if, you know, for myself, I'm happy to meet with the district office as well, because I don't have a lot of interaction with the folks here.
Yeah,
It'd be nice to, you know,
It is a good experience. It's just, you know, I know who Ryan Sock is. And you go out there and he will come in and he will have a 2-page written evaluation of Bert's performance.
I don't know.
Very thorough.
Yeah,
He is very thorough. And that's heartwarming.
all right.
So,
Did you get all the, did you sketch out all those names? Or what people wanted to do?
I did not, I heard what everyone wanted,
But there wasn't anything specifically.
no, it sounded.
No,
Sarah wanted to do the elementary, that sounded easy. It sounds like you would like to do maybe the high school. And it sounds like you're more partial to the administrative offices.
Mhm.
So I'm happy to do the middle. Where does that put you?
yes, I gave up everything I could do. So, does anybody need help?
Yeah, you could have multiple people do it, just.
Yeah. Or I mean, I wouldn't mind doing them, well. I'm curious about the administrative offices too, because you just mentioned a name I didn't really know.
You know, there's an option.
What?
I have a lot of free time.
Okay,
You can do all three.
all three.
Buildings.
Join with you.
Oh. You just join,
Join each of them
yeah,
if it works.
I think
Does that
that,
work?
I actually like that idea because I think there's some opportunity to see or hear some of the things. The experience, we do have a set of questions, right?
Yeah, if you scroll
Yeah.
down, Todd, you can see the list of questions.
Yep.
Because we have to stick with.
So I'd
that.
be happy to
Yeah,
join in on everybody's.
is everyone
Probably
okay
not
with that?
the office.
Would you be okay
Yeah.
with that?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
great. Let's do that. then.
okay. I am curious about the, well, like, we can't all three do the administrative office, but
Well, you could do that.
We can
Join
trade.
in.
I just don't know
Team
what
up.
people here either, really, that's the only thing. At some point, I would like to do that before, it doesn't have to be this year. So I'll just do the middle school.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so then so the decision was that Emily, you're into the high school. Sarah, you'll take the elementary.
yes,
Asa, middle school. Eric, district office, and Jeff is along for the ride.
Jeff's the roamer.
Jeff's
Okay,
our chaperone.
Baseball, we would call Jeff the utility.
Perfect.
Great.
That was fairly easy. Is there anything else we need to cover
and
at this point?
can I ask can I write down who it is that we need to schedule it?
The principal and the union rep,
Yeah.
And the principal can tell you who the union rep
Yeah,
is.
one of
which
them
is Gretchen
Gretchen.
Lane.
Yeah.
That's the elementary school. I don't know who's the middle school.
Is it
Jonathan.
Is Jonathan still? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that'll be easy.
And they have multiple, so the high school is Bethany or Rima.
Yeah, okay, well, I know all the.
And just for memory's sake, you know, part of the exercise is to review Kurt's goals with with each of the people that we interview and to have them also use that as part of their evaluation process. So
Sure. I didn't hear any mention of talking to classified. You're talking principal and
We're-
union reps for the certifieds.
This is the evaluation we've set, so we're gonna stick with it. Okay, do we need to have any more discussion on that?
Were we gonna send out something to the union reps to talk to the people first?
Yes,
Yeah.
did discuss that.
So that there was a mechanism
Yeah.
for staff to.
Yes,
Let's see, I wrote that in here somewhere.
Who is supposed to do that?
I can take ownership of that.
So it'd be like an all staff email that says, if you have feedback.
I think it's up near the top.
the idea was to give the union reps a way to hear from anyone
Yeah.
Right.
that had
Yeah.
something
Go down a little bit.
to say
Sure,
And then
It's
they
after
bring
this.
that voice.
to the
forward.
union rep.
Right.
Right.
And then we talk to the
Mhm.
union rep.
Right.
You scroll
Correct.
down to, yeah,
So it seems like we would need to do
Yes.
two things. One, tell the union reps we're expecting that of them, so they don't. Suddenly start getting feedback and they're not ready to like
Good
collect
idea.
it, right?
Right.
So we need to do some,
It needs to go through, we should probably have the union rep, we'll give the information to the union rep and ask the union rep to ask the question.
yes.
okay,
That's the plan. I don't know how that would work here, but you can figure that out.
Do we each individually want to do that? Contacting that?
Well, we should, he will have the questions. And then he can give them to Amy, Amy can give them to each one of us, and then we contact the union rep with that same set of questions saying, please ask these questions. Please broadcast this out. Take any feedback and bring it to when we meet with you.
Okay.
That's basically the plan.
And we would prefer to do that ASAP so they have time to fill
Correct.
that out and receive
Correct.
information
Yes,
back.
yeah,
and
I will make
set
sure.
up that.
Yes.
Okay, and our deadline for this is March? Okay.
So Eric, you will get that to me and then I can visit it.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. Do we want to go ahead and do you want to show us what you're going to?
Yeah, we can jump into the asset discussion. Some of the stuff is, if you don't have a lot of copies, one, I don't have a copy for that, but some of the stuff came back pretty quickly, so I just wanted to give the board an opportunity to look at it as I discuss some of the things. This is this will be the two pages, which are the old elementary school property.
Should we stand up and?
I think it's probably gonna be the best way is just circle around while the discussion's happening.
Okay,
And then the property here at the district office. And then for those that are interested, this is the map that staff generated about needs at the Coalfield Center. And this was what got returned to us from Chris Mays, eliminating some of the stuff and kind of a phase 1, phase 2 discussion. This just happened, so this is pretty fresh. So I think as we started in the process, I think things to think about is we're going to move forward with the processes, but I think what I need some more direction on or clarity as we work through the process is one, to answer any questions, but with the conversation about where we're going financially, the question is what is there a discussion with what we is there a discussion with how we want to allocate money? Is there a limit to what we want to allocate on a remodel? My initial thoughts with the Coalfield Center that we'd fall somewhere around what the Park and Rec fell into with the district, with the old elementary schools. They spent about $350,000 remodeling. I thought we'd probably be in that ballpark, and then it seemed like that rest of that money would go into a capital reserve. Initially, I thought to do some of the deferred maintenance, but again, one of my thoughts now is if we're entering difficult times, we spent the last decade building our contingency from $400,000 to 1.85. And so there's an opportunity to look at, do we at some point reallocate some funds into operations that cover some of those heightened funds if we have money out of the proceeds to put into, to basically backfill a capital contingency? Because that's what the intent of that contingency is, of some kind of catastrophic failure, some money to do something if there's a problem in the district. So, and impacted by that might be what we're able to sell those pieces of property for and what that looks like. And then also, if we're going to spend money to move the district office, what does that look like? So the additional conversations that have happened, I have had conversations with Jen, because to start looking at that building, technically we're leasing right now the Cofield Center, right? Because this moves slower, so we're spending money right now that we had to enter in because we thought we might actually start doing construction. But until we got the permitting process, had access to the ability to do all the deep dive, we didn't know what that would look like. So what I've told Jen is I'm not sure what that future looks like, because if 3,000 square feet of remodeling just in the entry area, because the Coalfield Center is 10,000 square feet, this building is 5,000, so we get more space. But the last number that was thrown at me in the conversation was Brett Hudson, our project manager, in his work at RPA, he's getting quoted $400 a square foot for remodels there. 3,000 square feet, that's $1.2 million. I have no interest in spending $1.2 million on a remodel of the Coalfield Center. One, I don't know that we have it, and even if we did have it after the sale of somebody's property, I'm just not, that's a massive investment at this point. I'd just rather stay in this building and sell that, be a business. We could rezone just that and stay here and have that process slow down and work through it in a different model. Maybe look to the 2030 renewal of our bond, something, but it just doesn't feel like that's the right time. So those are some of the conversations, just giving me some guardrails about thoughts and where we are and what that looks like. I hope to get more. I asked Brett to go to a couple of contractors we've used in the past, both Sunwest and Keaton King. And so I'm like, okay, maybe not a binding thing, but just a rough estimate. Where might these things fall in? It's not a lot of structural, it's a lot of interior wall moving doors, right? It's not a big, well, it is, it's bigger, big-ish. It's not $42 million building, but it's still work to be done. So he's gonna get more information, but I think, again, I wanna get an understanding of where I'm gonna say, I 100% was 1.2 million was the no. I'm like, nope, sorry, that's not gonna work. We'll stay here, we're not doing that. So that'll be a conversation to think about as we move forward. The other thing that I think we need to think about, which could be impacted, maybe not to even, well, obviously not decided tonight because this is a work session, but another part of the conversation is this piece at where the transportation center is. At one point, there was we did allocate and have done some good work with workforce housing. We had one staff member that was able to, well, the only unit that we really could get off the ground with through homes got delivered to a staff member. So when McKinsey Meadow went off and we didn't have necessarily a partner in potential workforce housing, then the other thought was, well, maybe we could dedicate some lots in this as workforce housing because we own that property. Or the question is, do you just sell it as one for somebody else to develop and we actually maximize profit off of that? And partially because it looks like, well, I don't know, we'll see what happens with the city, whether McKinsey Meadow becomes a player again or not. But it looks like that conversation's been re-engaged. I'll be interested on the 14th, go to the city council meeting and see where that goes and what the next steps are. So I think there's gonna be some options or some decisions, some guidance to get from the board about what that looks like, how we want to allocate. And then it also just made me think of, we operated on a long-term facilities plan for the last 10 years that now is kind of being null and void. So at some point, we probably need to look at a new district master plan and where do we want to go under some of these transitions that we're gonna have in place, and what do we look at with the property that we have? We still have, it's a Frisbee golf course right now, but we still have 21 acres at the other end of town that's not developed, right? So what is our overall vision? The one thing that didn't get achieved in any of this, one is we still may achieve moving the district office to be all on one campus. The other thing was, we did get a varsity baseball field built, but originally the design was there would be cloverleaf at the end of that property, so we'd have 2 softball fields and 2 baseball fields. We kind of have 1 and 1 and 1 and 1 in different areas, and then some improved parking around those areas. So I think just long term, what are we thinking? Again, we're a decade out of the old plan. And probably start with some of these transitions and things happening. What does that look like for our future? So it gives me, I guess, a little better direction to know where we're going and what to think for, plan for, think about, also. So, questions?
So tonight, the exercise that you're looking for us is to start thinking about like what with each of these pieces, what we think might be a desired location.
Are we thinking workforce housing? Are we thinking capital fund? Are we thinking hold on to things? Are we I mean, some understanding of guardrails. I mean, I think the estimate that we got from, um, gonna say Jerry's father, Tim Kazar, is that this piece here is, worth about $500,000 or $600,000. The buildings, the question right now on the value of this property and that original estimate has to do with parking and how you can develop it, because it's a common shared parking with all three buildings. I'm not sure that, the real question would be, and these are questions I don't have answered, is the city could say, well, you don't have enough parking to make that restaurant because of the structure of the way the parking was, and it's actually. It wasn't found by our engineer originally, and then eventually they went to some addendum that showed the common 68 parking lots that serve this hub, this end of town, and that it is deeded. It was weird. I'll go back and Steve may have some different history on this, but when I got here, the city was actually tending all the beds. And then when the old city manager left and the new guy came in, they stopped doing that. I'm like, well, it seemed weird that they were doing it anyway. Well, now it makes sense because this is actually common parking city, and it's in the addendum that they take care of the beds. So it was actually in the agreement. So there's some things that impact the overall, I think, where we thought we could go with it versus where we might. Now, the other piece is I do believe the city did agree to look at acquiring this from us. And so I haven't got anything in writing from them yet, but as I understand, it might be coming. I don't know what that would look like. I don't like leasing and getting involved in that, but we could decide that they don't really have any plans for it immediately, so it could also get sold and lease it back for a couple of years while things develop for us as the assets, as we work through with a long range plan. So there are things to talk about and think about that are in play. I did talk to Jordan and say, well, our estimate was $1.2 million to remodel the Cofield Center, and that's not happening anytime soon. We don't have that kind of capital sitting around. And in the financial times we're headed into may not be the best foot forward to invest a ton of money into that, although people understand that capital asset versus operations, two different pots. But so those are just the things to think about as we keep moving forward. So there's a lot of moving pieces with all these pieces of property. Part of it is just getting a general understanding of where we want to go, and then reaffirming, I mean, the finishing of the Cofield Center would be a completion of a consolidated campus, including the administrative office, being able to serve all people, including our staff. Right now, staff can see us before and after school. They don't have time and the prep. Now they could run down here, but it's more of a stretch for them. If we're right there, there's a bigger access for us to serve our folks. So there's still benefits to that move. It's just not spending that kind of money. So I think it's just more of an information session and those questions to be pondered, and we'll circle back in an additional work session, and probably some, if there's any directives, obviously that can happen in the board session, but questions, concerns, thoughts right now with where we are, and any feedback from me on things you'd like me to inquire about in the process that I could answer?
I think we need to inquire about employee housing again.
Yeah.
From the staff. Since we have a piece of land we can fit that on, and before we start liquidating assets for something else.
Yeah.
And then I'm guessing we need it. And then the next question I would ask is, would Rooted Homes be interested in partnering financially with us on a piece of property.
Yeah, that is the partnership that you can do. They will do land or capital money investment. So the piece of property could be our potential side. The challenge is getting to be, for example, we were working on two separate pieces in Woodlands. And because of the interest rates and where we are financially, we couldn't buy down the principal rate to still make it affordable for a staff member. And that's why we only were able to do the one, is once the interest rates shot up. And we looked at doing a triplex, which even shaved the cost of the unit, right there, where the groundbreaking was for the Habitat homes that are going into that development. On that corner, we were looking at a triplex, and I think CS Construction was looking at maybe same thing, kind of a workforce housing for one of their employees in part of the triplex. We were gonna do a piece, and then maybe Rudy was gonna do another piece for somebody else. But even that didn't pencil out. Even the trying to be cost efficient with the triplex didn't cost out under the current conditions. So yes, that's a possibility. And I think that's the question moving forward is, if we have the potential of partnering with whether it's Habitat or some other developer in the UGB, or if it was McKinsey Meadow, if they get on board, Bill's in, right? We can partner with them for employee housing, which then gives us more options for that
Yeah.
piece of property. So, and it's not a fast play. All this is gonna be a slow development, right? So, but it's just stuff to think about where we are, the demographics of our folks. I think right now our need hasn't necessarily changed, to your point, but I think so still we were the most veteran staff, 16+ years of service in education for our staff, which tends to put people to higher pay scale. But even with that, the turnover we're probably gonna see in the next 3 to 5, that demographic could change and the need is gonna change. So I think it's the conversation about not just the right now game, but what it's gonna be like 5 years from now. And who's our partner, whether it's us owning that, or we have a developing partner that can help with it as well. Who, I mean, like I said, if that's, and it may be on that piece, we have to slow play it a little longer until we have some of those answers on whether McKinsey Meadow gets in or not, and what happens with that development in the UGB.
How many, like, what would be a goal for employee housing that you think would be worthwhile to make a difference in our actual stuff?
I think. I always thought that our goal at some point over a 3 to 5 year plan would be get to somewhere between 8 and 12 units, right? That would be available. That would be 12 or 14. So that would kind of cover it. The other conversation is, not to go back to the piece about our 21 acres, but
We just lost an acre.
yeah, well.
You said it was 22.
Oh, I thought I said 21. Anyway, the backside of that property, there was discussion with the city at one point about us even punching a road in and doing employee housing along the backside of that property as well, because it buffers up against the Forest Service and the Reed property. And so, I mean, we have land assets that it doesn't have to be that land, it could be other land. Actually, at one point, the previous city manager before this guy, Corey, thought that right next to the Coalfield Center in that, because there's no easement setback off of Highway 242. So all that woods is stuff we could have pushed the elementary school out to the edge of the highway. We self-imposed that setback.
That's where our
So-
basement story.
So Corey had at one point thought if you punched in some cul-de-sacs into that little area, you could do employee housing there as well. So we do have, there's a lot of, that's where I think the whole idea of a bigger discussion about master planning, what do we want to do? What do we see that look like? That may not make any sense. I'm not promoting any of those ideas, just saying the conversations that have happened in the last 3 years. But we have some options, and I think it would be important to get feedback from the board, and maybe we want to do some deeper outreach with the community even on some of those topics. So it's gonna be, my nervousness is really around budget in the next 3 years specifically. It's gonna be a challenge. And I think we've got for the second biennium, we've got some money with our first contingency that we're targeting in year 3. But these next 2 years, what does that look like? Making sure we're not also depleting district funds in case we have an emergency. So just trying to be mindful of the big picture and, initially I thought that some of the sale of these things would be to do other capital improvements, because we always have deferred maintenance to happen. But it could be that we look at, shoring up that contingency and using some of the contingency for some of the things that in the transition of these tight budget times. Or we cut really deep and look at it. I mean, there's different ways to look at it, and the flexibility, I'll save the conversations for budget stuff when we get into more budget conversations, but, the tighter your budget gets, the bigger impact you have on a per year basis of whether it's a negative main message or what your cash carry forward looks like. Those things are almost magnified, in the deficit of the next year. So, there's some challenges there that we're gonna be experiencing in the next few years as well. So. All right.
Just reinforcing earlier comment you made about the consolidated parking, that was a really big deal, that basically huge negotiations that eventually brought the library into that site.
Yeah.
That wouldn't have if that agreement hadn't been made. Jeff was on the board at that time.
Yeah.
Eric Dolson was engaged as a board member.
Right.
I was in the middle of that, and that's about the time I was retiring. But in Indian, for good reason. But
Yeah.
but for Indian, that's just something that I know that you're dealing with, but that's gonna be hard to get around changing that at some point.
Yeah, and the only benefit we have here, so one of the things they looked at with the piece, the bare land. Is that we can do a lot line adjustment, incorporate some parking here, it still might be shared, but you can bump out. This vacated street becomes our property, so we can bump out and access more parking here, which gives flexibility for what that can be developed at. It still is gonna be probably connected to shared parking in general, but it gives more parking options, which gives some flexibility here. We're kind of locked with parking. As a matter of fact, the parking at the far end is outside of the easement. That's now ODOT property. So we got parking spaces in ODOT property. Yeah, which is a whole nother thing after the gifting of the property with the roundabout. So, again, I think that limits what this facility, but that might be honestly okay, because we may not be able to leave this facility for a little bit if the remodel costs are as high as some of the estimates are they're thinking they might be. So, again, stuff to start pondering, and I want to make sure I ask questions and also plant the seed of a future additional kind of long-term facilities goal. What do we want to do? What does that consolidated campus look like? What does continued development look like? At one point when we had the conversation about those cul-de-sacs, and our Frisbee golf folks are pretty vocal. But I'm like, well, staff being able to live in Sisters and serve our kids versus Frisbee golf, there's some choices. And so, and we may not, we'll see whether we need to go there or not, but those are just the conversations that I think as we keep moving forward. I think as we get rid of that property as well, at some point, another building, because we are short with all of our vehicle service equipment. We probably need to build another couple bays to be able to house some of the stuff that is stored over there now. So I think just, again, continued conversation about what do the next 5 to 10 years look like. I think Asa and I and some others have had the conversation. So our cycle moving forward is going to be 2028 renewal of local option. Right? That's the next big thing that's coming up. 2030 would be a maintenance bond. So the bond that we passed my first year, that's fine, time's flying.
Wow.
That gave us 10 point some million, then we got the matching grant. It turned into about 15 with the proceeds, because we got a premium on the sale of the bonds. So that will be we'll have the ability to re-up that bond in 2030. The reality is we will probably not just need to repair, but probably replace the roof at the high school and the roof at the middle school. under that initiative, because those are gonna be two major and replacing and probably going to a better, the high school was intended under the design to be metal in the first place, and it got switched to composite, which has caused problems. And so, you know, right now, we're funding under the bond, because we dropped it under the 2015 bond because it was so political, people didn't want to support it. We were talking $1.2 million to re-roof. Now it's like $4 to $5 million to re-roof. Alright, so the majority of that bond could be eaten up in just re-roofing two buildings. As we look ahead. So those are two of the bigger things that we have as far as the bond movement. And then, you know, there's been conversation with Jen about, is Park and Rec gonna, you know, maybe cancel their charter, look at a new initiative that supports them at a rate that makes sense, because they're the lowest rated Park and Rec. And in that, would they also at that time maybe lobby the community to see if it would be supported to actually buy that facility from us, right? If we're, so there's lots of asset discussion, I think, that could be coming down the road. My worry about that one, to be completely transparent, is when that happens, if it happens sooner, then there's gonna be a perspective that we have all the proceeds from that, so we don't need to pass a bond to do anything else, which probably won't be the case, because additionally, in this UGB, if we don't probably acquire property as soon as we can for additional growth down the road. So there is 15 acres in the UGB set aside for a future school site. So my recommendation would be, whenever we sell that, or if we did pass a 2030 bond, that the district would be, think ahead and look at acquiring property early with the way the growth is happening in the region, because I don't think it's gonna be in the next 5, but 10 to 15, maybe. Right, if we don't acquire it now, you're gonna pay a lot more for it 10, 15 years down the road. So those are some of the other discussions, I think, in the UGB and what happens. And so again, just a lot of moving pieces with our district assets right now, or potential moving pieces with our district assets, and establishing that long-term plan for us to guide us into how we move with those things. So. Any other, that was really it, just information. And then we'll have more conversations about that as we move forward. All right, that's okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, so this is what we had in mind, and this like little, creating a bigger foyer, nice entry space. This is evidently there's a problem with the solar opening, so we would send a higher doors.
Raise my
So
hand.
we should-
Last night, as you're picking your actual
Kind
document.
of.
You will get some,
This hallway.
That's why we're emailing
The hallway.
the rep.
Taking out a wall.
There's a union rep, classified and a union rep.
I understand,
For service.
it's gonna ask.
These
you
are-
know,
Yep, and this is
You
actually
have to
already
sit
there.
as board members. Somebody has to collect
Yeah,
the
it's just-
feedback
it's
from the
just
classified
redesigning and
people.
Putting up walls, and
Okay.
nothing necessarily load bearing.
You see what I'm
other
saying,
than
Jeff?
this intersection right
You
here.
can't leave a whole batch of
Yeah.
employees out of the
It's just-
evaluation process.
yeah,
That's
But when
not
I'm
fair.
like,
Why is,
yes,
why is it that we're leaving that out?
she's saying
You
there's.
said you're gonna meet with the
Yeah,
principal and the
and
union
this-
rep.
This
That would be
interface is not
certified.
here for fans, so that fan has its own entry space that enter into the administrative offices like.
They can't talk to the union rep.
That's the principle.
This, the word is
Totally
there right
different
now.
things.
So it's
as
just carrying
You
off the
need to be getting
space.
feedback
So
from
yeah, no, it's not a
classified
lot.
people. Would be
But
from their
This is all open, so it's,
If you're gonna
it's
talk
all
to
new in
certified.
the
union.
interior and whatever's there.
So
They do have
it's a
some, they
thorough
have a
feedback.
kitchenette
Okay.
thing in there that have to be
I used to be.
destroyed, that's the stuff you have to take out.
That do the.
This whole
Mhm.
hallway wall would
To
have to be
the
removed.
CEO.
Please,
secretary,
evaluate as
and
far
see
as.
how-
No.
I don't think
No,
it's
that
worth, I
is-
think this one's the one that's.
Possible system.
Sure, sure.
Oh.
Windows and out here, place and just, it's really just a lot of.
Mine is perfect.
Yeah.
So,
Sorry,
I
she
think-
said contact.
So,
Okay.
so
She said just.
certified
Okay.
as
That's
what
all she
union
said.
rep, isn't uncertified?
Not right away.
Okay, and that's not-
I hear you.
We need the office, we
seen you.
need the office.
Okay.
when you get to negotiations, you have.
Right, I'm
No,
just saying,
negotiation.
Like
Right.
people,
Yeah.
Full
Yeah.
round of evaluation.
you just need like 7, 8, 9, 10 more. options.
So this is one big office right here.
You said-
No, I did not.
This one's in place, this one isn't there, it's just an open space, so it'd be that one's putting in, this is all existing.
So
And
large.
then this is.
Is that right?
That was
This bathroom is there, all of this would be, this is the biggest.
no, I'm just normal.
But that's
Battle
not-
choice for you. Goodness, yeah.
What does that tell you? Huh?
So it's 2,500?
No, no,
But
there, I'm sure
There's
there's.
no way it can be four
Yeah, it's
hundred.
hard to know.
It just
Megan
seems
did
like
say
kind of
butter.
operation.
Maybe you're right. They just grabbed something. Yeah, but Megan did say. It's perfect.
That's the idea that at some point, if this doesn't work as the whole idea is that.
I've been to expert, I'm not.
Early ed expert and supposed to help support and advise SPRD as well, and it's supposed to be more of a partnership. It's getting better, not, and so if it doesn't end up functioning that way, then this would be a space, and we've also talked about starting a early learning string into the high school.
Right.
And so then you would have it in proximity for kids to come over and do the program.
And there
you have a
playground for that.
Yeah, this is a whole fence playground, because that's where the preschool was.
Our kids, just a personal story, our kids when we
Never
were
been in the
we're in a
Cofield
preschool
Center,
program
but-
that's affiliated with Medford High School.
Yeah.
And every single
million
student
dollars.
that put time in that, I tell you, that's.
The booth is all the.
Yeah. Yes.
But it was a really good experience for them. I mean, they had to do lesson plans and. they
Yeah.
had to-
Yeah.
They had to deal
When-
with all those.
When I was in spring, we had
Yeah.
the program in ours, and it was, the real challenge is, we have some. We have some staff member, so there's a lottery system, because you can't just do it, but that's the other challenge for us is. We have folks who need childcare, that's the other challenge, so affordable housing and affordable childcare, right? I mean, that's the two things we've had struggles where we have some staff. Who've actually partnered and hired a person. And collectively, them together with the 4 or 5 kids that are being served, they pay the person pretty well. Problem is, when that person's sick.
Okay.
Or whatever, then we've got staff out, because there's no back, it's not a daycare, it's one person. And actually, that person went down for 10 days and they were rotating who was covering.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. Anything up there is, any misinformation is just like maybe a lack of knowledge of how.
Started the daycare, got a license.
In terms of report cards and so.
But it was also,
Great.
it was a co-op too, so all the parents had to be like background checked and like vetted as a caregiver.
Yeah.
But then we're basically.
We have to make
a
it.
system where
Or
there was a backup system.
potentially, yeah.
We had a
do
different system for.
And I'm-
The classified union
Oh,
reporters
the
with
middle
the
high
side.
school.
Yeah.
Staffing.
That's why that wing at that
And
one.
have them
Yeah.
hold the chair feedback, although we probably don't have any control, so.
There's two different.
Yeah, so I don't think anything in this proposal
Now,
is
the Medford
based on my
administrators,
understanding
Joe,
of.
into their.
Uh,
I don't ever
Pregnancy rate reduced at Medford High because all of their students had the.
Yes.
Yeah.
But they claimed there was some truth to that.
I think there is.
That works out for me, so.
Yeah.
This is what?
This, we can talk
Those are
about,
work-
this still works,
Yeah.
we can work through these details.
We have talked to
So this.
union rep from the.
Yeah.
So the question
Classified.
to ask your staff is, would you
What?
be happy if you're
That's-
all day long working with this person and you're sharing this
Custodian
very
is the
small
middle school.
area living? but
Okay.
in a-
Oh, yeah,
As an
yeah.
as an
Doesn't
individual.
necessarily want to
Yes.
live with
Not as a
all
union.
the people.
Well, in my perfect world, it would be Lindsay Meadows, because that would be spread out throughout that
Is there,
development
is there
50
classified
acres.
student rep at every
And
school?
Bill's committed to it,
I don't think
and
so.
Well,
working with us on
that's add
it.
one more to,
barring liability,
just
the
one
conversation that we
potential.
haven't vetted
There
through
you
is
go.
yeah.
actually getting our construction
I
class
don't-
to go over and
There's
help
never
with the
intention to
affordability to
exclude
do labor
anyone
and
in
learning
No.
the trade.
Which is.
So
there's
is that a solution that works?
Yeah, it is.
Yes.
Oh, that's
great. Yeah, I'm sure we can Amy to write that down.
No.
That would be a regular house, 3 houses down, workforce.
Yes.
Another workforce.
Yeah.
He's talking about some,
That works.
some,
Yes.
Yeah.
developmental support for our assisted living for developmentally delayed students or adults now who need some supported living.
Do we have any other?
Yeah.
The,
I don't think so, not at least for like this. I mean,
Any other?
That's what it's,
concerns?
that's the question.
That's the underground.
Yep.
Story to us.
Yeah, so Mackenzie Meadow at this point has removed their appeal.
Yeah.
And evidently on the 14th, there's gonna be some conversation and there's another way for them to. I don't know, maybe it's called annexing it in versus the UGB, that they might be able to exercise that process. So at least what I read in the paper and what I've had, conversations with people who are in the know, it sounds like it's not dead at this point. That there's still an opportunity for that, so I'll show up. Again, not that it's about McKinsey Meadow, the only one in that group I know is Bill. But it's about workforce housing, so I'm gonna show up to every meeting about workforce housing and give my opinion.
Well, publicly lobby for them, Kenzie Meadow also, but then also. You can avoid that, so you told great neighbors.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I know well, it's funny going to those hearings, people just. Like, and one of them was one of our staff members who got up and said, well, affordable housing, well, a house just sold for $530,000 in Hayden Homes, that's not affordable. Well, you don't understand, affordable housing is dedicated, there's a formula to it, right? It's subsidized, it's not just market rate affordable housing, that's not affordable housing.
Right.
And honestly, no places in Sisters in any new development are gonna be technically affordable. Under the affordable model of 80% of AMI,
I think the problem is the term affordable housing has been thrown around by
way overused.
so many entities in so
Yeah.
many ways that nobody knows
Yeah.
how to fund it.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
so that it'll be interesting to see what happens. I mean, you talk to the county, like Phil Chang, when actually, his response of McKinsey Meadow has gone above and beyond, like the environmental concerns, the riparian zone with Trout Creek,
Mhm.
the nature right away.
Right.
I'm like, nature right away,
Yeah.
the fence that the REITs put up is the biggest, I mean, we saw that in the video.
I know.
It's the biggest obstacle to the nature right away is the fence. So I think they've answered all those questions. So we'll see what happens. The other update on assets is, there were so many applications for the fire treatment.
Oh, yeah.
That now they're estimating we'll get it, we thought we'd get an answer before December was out. Now it looks like it'll be mid-January that we'll get an answer on whether we got that. Which,
Oh.
if there are that many applications, it means it's super competitive, but I think. Where ours is, the partnerships, how it connects multiple areas and public interest, I still think we have a strong shot to get. That grant to help do that fire thing, so. Once I hear more, but yeah, probably mid-month now we'll know.
I'm disappointed, I thought you were gonna say, application under the budget.
Hard choice. Are we gonna reconvene and get out?
Yes.
Yeah,
Alright,
and then we do have one change on jobs, we'll add Jeff, since there's one
Or evaluation.
for evaluation. Since there's one union rep, Jeff will interview the person under the same foot
for what,
for your evaluation.
oh,
You mean class.
Yes.
well, there's a rotating, and I would say the other thing, just on those. So there's more union members and some members that are in the committee and they parse out who does what, like some come to the labor management meetings, others. I think are the ones that volunteer to be interviewed, so still, those contacts will be able to, the people that you have will be able to direct you to, whether they're the person or it's gonna be somebody else. And again, I think the general email to all, we're in the middle of this process.
Yep.
If you have comments, please forward it to your building rep.
Yep.
We'll be connecting with you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Good. Yeah, just make sure that we cover all of our bases.
Yep.
Whoa,
again,
All right,
Time to go.
does anyone have any last things to add about either property or or evaluation of the superintendent. Okay, great. Then I will make these announcements that February 11th, again, we will have a regular board meeting at 5:30, followed by a work session on the same subject of superintendent evaluation. And that's the second Wednesday, just a reminder. And other than that, I think our meeting is officially adjourned.
Yeah, I think we're fine. Not a discussion for tonight, but my question, we put some placeholders in, so I think the question is. If you guys are doing the job and
Yeah.
the goal is to not have it done till March, do we even need the work session?
I don't know if we will need it, but
So just,
Well, we
You were
could just,
done.
we don't know, we probably shouldn't, as long as we have all the information and we get it all out as we.
So do you want me to keep that placeholder?
Well, let's leave it as a placeholder,
Yeah.
just in case.
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay,
because if we want to rediscuss.
we can always
it,
cancel.
Yes, canceling is easier than reschedule. Or scheduling. Thank you, everyone.
yeah. You guys.